Understanding love. To an earth keeper, love is not a feeling or something you're bartered with. Love is the essence of who you are, and it radiates from you as a brilliant aura. You become love, practice fearlessness, and attain enlightenment. Love is not only a feeling. The sages believe that love is the singular force in the universe, that all of creation arises from love, and that every beautiful thing you create in your life comes from love. Love is a force that you cannot escape, like gravity. It is ubiquitous, yet invisible. It exerts an irresistible pull on us, leading us to acts of courage and foolishness beyond our wildest imagining. But unlike gravity, which you cannot do anything about, you cannot easily levitate. For example, love is the force that you use to co-create with the primordial light. When you discover this, you can go about dreaming a new world into being. For the shamans we work with at the Four Winds, love is not a feeling, although most of us experience it as such. It is a force. It's what the flower feels for the morning dew, the jaguar for the deer it hunts to feed her cubs. It is the rainbow after a rain. Love is the force that can help us elicit the truth amid the lies. And above all, love is the power of the primordial light, which is cognizant, intelligent, wise. We can interact with the primordial light, what we call spirit, and it responds to us. This is the contract that the Leica has with spirit. You call, and spirit responds to you every single time. Transforming the daydream of love, that is unconditional, requires you to discover fearlessness. You become fearless by taking 3 actions. Give up the fantasy of finding your perfect soul mate. Love who you are, even with that nasty streak. Give up the idea of a God who loves you only when you do what's right. How do we recognize when we are living under the spell of a daydream? Daydreams always contain a contract or agreement that we make with life that goes like this: when, then. When I find my true love, or my true calling, or the perfect house, or job, then I will be happy, or successful, or fulfilled, or, you name it. But life does not like these bargains. We begin to wake up from the daydream when we turn the when, then agreement around. When I love who I am, then others love me. When we break the habit of searching for our soul mate, we start to end the dream of unconditional love. The next action we must take is to love who we are, and here's how: be fearless as you look at yourself. You are what you are. Take a deep breath and accept that for better and for worse, you are you. No one else is going to give you this kind of approval without extracting a sky-high price. Embracing all of yourself is the true path to unconditional love for all those around you. Your parents, partner, children, friends, extended family, and co-workers. All are imperfect, the same as you. What parts of yourself will you love today? Cry on, who you are. Greetings, dear ones. I am Cryon of Magnetic Service. Again, my partner steps aside, and what follows is new information. The message is going to be combined with information I've been giving you for more than 2 decades, but there is now a completion of the next phase of knowledge. The year 2018 in Tibetan numerology is a master number. It adds up to 11, and the meaning of this number is 𝐷𝐴 So it's like an invitation to allow this year to be the one where the light is turned on in so many minds about what is truly happening for the planet. Today, I give you very esoteric but profound information that speaks about you and who you are. It speaks of a new paradigm of human being. The study this weekend has been both scientific and esoteric. Those who have been in this audience have received something that most do not, a combination of energies. It's a combination of science and what you call spirituality, which then blurs this whole study in a way where some have to ask, what really is the difference between them? So I'll say it again: if you believe that God or a creative source created the planet, then that creative source logically has to be the master physicist. Everything you're looking at and studying is the creation from an intelligent outside source and, therefore, your science is the study of what this creative source did. You have to start understanding that there is more than just an overlap between science and spirituality. It is actually the same study. It's a sign of the times that, within your reality, even the most scientific humans are often saying, we see some kind of an intelligence in the universe that has affected all of us. We don't understand how it works and we don't know why, but it has to be there because of the logic of what we are actually observing. This statement refers to the older idea that randomness and chance created everything, yet this is now being seen as impossible. It also gives new urgency to the question, who are you, really? Eventually, even the most closed-minded of those who study science will have to come around to a conclusion that things are not as they thought or were told. The very study of human evolution will come into question. The prevailing ideas of how you got here, and how long it took, are wrong. It is now, post-2012, that there will start to be very clear indications of another story completely. Even with that, your educational textbooks continue to give you a mythology of a lineage of human development. This will have to change, and I'll tell you why, dear ones. It's because if it does not, there will be a rebellion within the young people who are looking around and seeing a different truth. This will eventually force a rewrite of a history that is currently biased in old thinking and old ideas. But that's not what I want to talk about. The creation story revisited. I want to talk about the rest of the story. What follows is completely and totally esoteric, with only occasional punctuations of science. But it is logical. I wish to tell a story I've told before, but now will be enhanced. It's a story of creation. It's one of the greatest love stories that you could have on the planet, and it speaks of those in another part of the galaxy who have a spiritual evolution millions of years greater than yours. Millions. What do you think that might look like? If consciousness is evolving within humans, and since consciousness has been shown to affect physical things, is it too much of a stretch to imagine that your consciousness might be able to eventually control some physics? The ones who seeded you can control many parts of physics with their consciousness. It's not technology, but a spiritually evolved, loving consciousness. They came to this planet 200,000 years ago and changed you. We call them the seed planters, and you call them the Pleiadians. To many, they even are called angels, since when they are seen, it is out of this world to you. Is this ridiculous to you? Let me ask you, did you ever have masters on this planet who seemed to control physics and reality? The answer is, most of them. Think about it. What if mastery of your spiritual self creates the ability to alter systems you haven't discovered yet? You have seen it and reported it in your ancient scriptures. What these seed planters did is to change your consciousness through biological advancement. They literally changed the magnetic patterns that exist inside the very DNA of the modern human. From a spiritual aspect, you received the ability to discern God inside, and to sense or discern the potential of a benevolent creator. You received the ability and free choice to know the difference between dark and light, right and wrong, and feel the love of God. This was on purpose, as designed by the creative source, and was not an accident or an experiment. You are here on purpose, dear ones. This is a test of energy for your civilization. But it doesn't stop there because there is a time frame involved. It's a time frame that we have not discussed fully before, but it still relates to the perception of the stars that you observe. The stars move slowly in a very consistent pattern that corresponds with your planet's slow wobble as it goes around your sun. The wobble of your planet, as you have measured it, is 26,000 years long from start to finish. The time frame, duration, of this test of humanity's free choice of light and dark consciousness is 2 cycles of the 26,000-year wobble. Listen. Many have thought it was 1 cycle. However, it was 2. Humans have been here a very long time. For those who are already lost in this discussion, we review the discoveries and ideas from the ancients, which say there is a great deal of history before your history. You have your own ideas of how long you have been here, and it doesn't go much past 9,000 years. However, there is now evidence that there were some civilizations before yours who even knew about astronomy. We even gave you a channeling while in Turkey about this very subject. The prevailing ideas of this theory had you with 5 civilizations on the Earth, all within one cycle of the 26,000-year wobble. Many believe that moving into 2012 has you beginning the 6th cycle, December 21, 2012, was the centering of the wobble. In addition, the Mayan calendar, long count, is almost exactly 1/5 of the 26,000-year cycle, indicating it was the calendar for your civilization. However, now we tell you that the real time frame of this entire human test of energy, light and dark, was 2 cycles, 52,000 years, not one cycle of 26,000 years. That means that humans like you, thinking like you, and evolved exactly like you, have been here for 52,000 years. So, do you really think humans have had history on your planet for more than 50,000 years? What are you taught in school? Stand by for a revelation. What a coincidence! The oldest confirmed civilization that you have measured through DNA and archaeological evidence is indeed approximately 52,000 years old. It's in Australia. Here is the proof that humans like you have actually been around that long. Why 52,000 years? Because there were approximately 10 civilizations of humanity, not 5. We say approximately because they melded into each other, but were still distinctly separate. So, if this is true, what do you now think about the teaching you got in school about the length of the development of civilization? Will you go with the books or with the new evidence? These first 5 cycles didn't have the numbers, amount of humans, that would give you that which is measurable now as a civilization, but, dear ones, these groups still destroyed themselves or were in a place that destroyed them. In smaller numbers, in tribes, this was very possible. You can still war until there are only a few left, no matter how few you are. You can still have dark human nature, over and over. Take a look at your own known history. This is exactly what you did as well. The weather cycles also contributed to this, for when you start to understand that there are actually cycles involved in your current weather shift, you will also see that they relate to the wobble. Isn't it interesting that you have one right now and it's the beginning of a new wobble cycle? What is your Akash really filled with? How many years have you worked this puzzle, old soul? Well, I've just told you. Some of you go back 52,000 years. When you then start looking at the timeline of Lemuria that we have given you, it also starts to make sense. The history of Lemuria was given during the conference. Lemuria goes back 50,000 years. We gave this information to you more than a decade ago. Archaeologists are not going to find much from the past 5 civilizations, 26,000 years. In fact, it's even difficult to find things that are over 14,000 years, before the Indus Valley Group. Nature does a good job of covering almost everything that humans do. Within those first smaller civilizations, there were a few structures, but they weren't big. Some of those civilizations had no structures at all, and just like the history of the indigenous of Australia, they moved with the seasons and the food. They never stayed in one place for long, and farming wasn't yet evolved. Even with the few, however, there were enough of them to disagree with who should share resources. Sound familiar? There were enough of them to be afraid of each other, since they met others they didn't know as they traveled. They couldn't see each other well, since they didn't share much past their own groups. There were enough of them to go to war with one another. There were enough of them to wound each other and let infections, disease and plague wipe out the few who were left. The profundity of the DNA shift. Now, the next revelation is this something we have discussed before, but the twist master needs to hear it again. He is here in the audience and his Lemurian name is 𝐻𝐸𝐸. Yes, your human DNA was changed. We have channeled this since my partner accepted me, Kryon, 28 years ago. We told you that when the Pleiadian seeds were planted on this beautiful earth, the ones who gave you the knowledge of light and dark, it was done by altering your DNA. It directly gave you a portion of the DNA that the Pleiadians had in them. The biggest thing they gave you was a pair of chromosomes which have been hiding for a long time. I'll tell you about them in a moment. But this pair of chromosomes allows for a specific memory of wisdom, intuition, and an evolved ability to pull yourself out of what you call current, human nature. It gives you the ability to completely think way beyond war. Dear ones, this has always been a test of free choice, without interference from any outside source, to see if you could discover it. You have. Now you sit in a time, right at the end of the 10th civilization and the beginning of the 11th, and you have figured it out. The energy is changing on the earth for you. There is more ability for you to advance in light right now than there ever has been before. There is now an ability for you to, become multidimensional. The next step, becoming multidimensionally aware. For the past few years, I have been channeling about this. In fact, it's the subject of the last publication of Kryon Book 14. What is it like for a human being to step out of linearity and become multidimensional? What would it look like? It affects your consciousness. The consciousness we are talking about is the evolving thinking and awareness of a multidimensional human. It is a consciousness that is higher, one of empathy, compassion, caring, gentleness, benevolence and greater wisdom. It's a consciousness where you remember what makes things work that you've never known in 10 civilizations. From the stars, it's an understanding that war does not work. Appreciation of the beauty of life and humanism is the core. It creates a driving, prime directive within every new child born on the planet: honor life. And, dear ones, it comes from something that happened in your DNA. Today you studied something remarkable, scientific, beautiful and controversial. You studied in depth what happened when a chromosome pair, labeled number 2, suddenly changed 200,000 years ago. Somehow you lost chromosome pair 24, and also somehow there was a morphing of another pair, and pair number 2 received some startling changes. You ended up with 23 pairs, unlike any mammal supposedly below you in the evolutionary chain. Suddenly there was huge, missing link in what you are currently told about human evolution, and this has remained a puzzle since then. What actually happened is that your DNA changed radically. It changed to reflect the parent seed planter, the Pleiadian. Those listening to this who are very spiritual and have strict doctrines, created by humans, will roll their eyes and say, "I knew it." That New Age channel says that we came from ETs. Dear ones, that's not what I'm telling you. Instead, I'm telling you that those so-called ETs, those Pleiadians, knew God inside. They knew about the creative source far better than you do, and they know everything that has to do with the other side of the veil because they were living it. This is what the evolution of consciousness is all about. It brings you into an alignment with what is hidden on the other side of the veil. It reveals the connection, finally, to the outside, the creative source. God inside has been the premise of the Kryon message for 28 years. Is it really too much of a stretch for you to think that others in the galaxy knew the one God that you know on Earth? DNA, the missing 24th pair of chromosomes. Back to your DNA, you observe that you have 23 pairs of chromosomes, and you are beginning to study amazing, big, biological changes from the past, the fusion of some of your DNA and the enhancements that occurred during that. Well, you missed something. It's obscure, but there is something else. Science revealed a potential some years ago. Experiments showed that your DNA might actually be a bit multidimensional. What they report is that the presence of DNA in a quantum field changes the spin of electrons in that field. When DNA is then removed, the changes that occurred due to the DNA remain. Follow the logic. If the presence of DNA changed atomic structure in a multidimensional field, it therefore could have a multidimensional component. Let me introduce you to something that we have stated one time before: you still have 24 pairs of chromosomes. They were moved around, combined, and the new 24th pair is multidimensional. This invisible pair, not in 3D, has been in use for 10 civilizations, and now it's starting to awaken due to the shift. It is also being affected by the radiation that is new in your magnetic field, being slowly created by a new area in space that your solar system is beginning to go through, ***. Do you understand this premise? You still have 24 pairs, but one of them is not seeable, just like gravity is not visible or the magnetic field itself. This very special 24th pair is fully multidimensional, and that is why your DNA can actually affect the spin of an electron in a quantum field. So, what does it mean to you? It means that you have the ability to pull yourself out of linear thinking, out of that which always led you right into war and dysfunction. Are you getting this? You never were wise enough to understand really who you were. This is now changing. Those who realize this and begin awakening to this new idea are the old souls who have been here for thousands of lifetimes and who experienced the horror of war and have been waiting for this very thing. These are the ones who understand the confluence of synchronicity is not chance. It's planned. They also are learning that coherence of a more positive human consciousness is starting to occur worldwide. It's the coherence of a connection to the other side of the veil. It's a connection that you didn't expect and that will eventually affect everything that is part of your reality, from your politics to your corporations. It's a coherence that will cause trouble, since there are many who wish to keep the old energy as it was. Dear ones, as odd and eye-rolling as all this sounds, you will see it actually happening. As this 24th bear starts to light up, someday you might even meet those who put it there. Again, I ask, is it simply too bizarre for your mind to imagine that others are here with you in your vast galaxy, who are far older and more advanced, and who found the beauty of God? Think about it. This is the love story. The Earth is not a simulation as some high thinkers have defined it, but rather it may look like it since what happened on it is completely artificial. In other words, life was created and developed much too fast on Earth to be by chance. That was by design. The human being who was changed here 200,000 years ago was by design. There was no randomness in the development of this beautiful, designed system you live in called Gaia. You are in a profound test of dark and light, as we have been saying for a long time. It's the end of the channel, but it's the beginning of something remarkable. As this information I have given begins to manifest itself, humanity will start to realize that they are in total control of what happens next. There will be new hope for this planet that's based on some things that science is just barely starting to see, not admitting yet, but starting to see. You are in a time when new information can fly around the planet in seconds. These new and unexpected things that are seen through new discoveries will never be able to be kept secret in this new paradigm. Listen, no matter what the paradigms or protocols of the old were, you can't have something be seen and presented to tens of millions that smiles and says hello, and then have a small group of leaders or educators tell you it didn't happen. Do you understand this metaphor? You can't hide or deny light anymore. Too many are watching. This will be the frustration that is coming in so many areas. There will be great conflict between what you see and what you have been told. Old souls, all of you listening here in this room, this is the free choice of the age. Get ready for it. Indeed, the teacher Greg is correct, scientist Greg Braden, who presented in the seminar. This will eventually define who you are and your place in the universe, and especially your galaxy. I know who you are, dear angelic being with God inside. I know who you are. Time for you to see it, too. And so it is.